want to point out that this week's astrology has a ton of lessons for us and very much reflects on us on our personal charts. So when we read horoscopes, it's really an embodiment of a whole bunch of energies that are moving around in the cosmos. And so this week in particular, we have a continuation of investigative energy. And this comes in from last week. So I want to talk about that because the astrology of this week is very dependent upon the modality of our signs that are predominant in our charts. So for those of us who have more fixed sign energy, so fixed signs are Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus, you're going to go through this week feeling way different than somebody who's more of a mutable modality, which is Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Virgo. There was a lot of collective lessons happening at the same time, and this is also for those who are cardinal modalities. So that is Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer. This is one of those weeks where I would say the Wheel of Fortune tarot card really dictates what's going on for all of us. We are in the middle of the wheel turning, and that wheel turning really actually happened, in my humble opinion, when we went through last week's new moon in Gemini. So I'm looking at this as us being given so many lessons in regards to how we value ourselves and leaving situations behind, and a lot of them have to deal with mental wellness. So on my podcast, Trust Your Glitter, I talked about, how many of us know somebody or ourselves that literally have dated the same person just in a different body. That's what this week's lesson is all about. Like, what is the thing you are mentally continuing? What is that cycle, that pattern? This week is going to give us this recognition of that pattern, and really with Mars ingress in the sign of Taurus, we have a good lesson here to really dig our heels in and say no more. And with the Pluto square this week, we're all going to really look at the authority and power structures in our life in a way that is, one, very empowering, but two, the recognition and realizations we're going to have this week are lessons that are going to continue forward into the future. So this is a really important time, and I'm kind of looking at this as a reading from last week to the new moon in July. So I have a podcast, Trust Your Glitter. It's on YouTube, and I'm also on Rumble. I'm also on Patreon a little bit. So I'm kind of dabbling with social media. But this is the big lesson. So I'm going to talk about those lessons for our signs. So for fixed signs, your lesson is to say no. Saying no is far easier to say than do. Literally, if you are an Aquarius, a Taurus, a Scorpio, or a Leo, there is something in your life that you are saying no to. It could be saying no to an old way of being. It could be saying no to somebody in your life, but you're going to have to say no in some way, shape, or form. For mutable signs, so that is Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, you're going to be experiencing this where you're going to have a recognition of where you've been putting on your rose-colored glasses. Virgo is the only exception to this. Virgo has a tendency to analyze things from every single angle and then some. But in many ways, you're going to have to really assess. And for mutable signs this week, we are in Gemini season, which is a mutable sign. But we have something called a Sun-Mercury cazimi. That's a Sun-Mercury conjunction at the end of this week. So mutable signs are going to have to really recognize that the information that they receive or that you receive this week is the truth. There is a truth surfacing this week that you can't unhear, you can't unsee, you can't unknow. And that is what you're going to kind of contend with this week. And cardinal signs, that is Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn, you're going to continue to have to stand in your authority. And the reason I say that is the North Node is in the sign of Aries, and that affects every single cardinal sign. Also, the asteroid Chiron is aspected this week with the Sun in Gemini and Mercury in the sign of Gemini in something called a sextile. And that is a friendly connection. So this energy is saying, hey, you have to continue going to your North Star, which is the ultimate truth of who you are and the power that you hold in your being. The South Node in Libra is telling all cardinal signs, but everybody as well, to let go of codependent relationships. And this week only continues that theme for cardinal signs. For more, check out Trust Your Glitter podcast on YouTube. I'm also on Patreon, Rumble, and more.